Hey guys, welcome back to another segment of True Reflections. Before we get started, I just want to thank everyone that has listened to my segments thus far. I am humbled that you guys would take time out of your busy schedules to listen to me ramble on and sharing my views and my thoughts and my opinions on different subject matters of to how I understand them to be. So from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank you guys so very much. So earlier today, I posted on my IG that I wanted to touch briefly on social anxiety. And social anxiety is a personal subject for me. Until recently, I thought that I had gotten over it. Boy, was I wrong. I was dead wrong. And many people wouldn't look at me and say that, I have social anxiety. But I know that I do. Like I said, until recently, I thought I had gotten over it. But to my disappointment, it's still very much a part of me, a part of my life, as a part of who I am. So just like any other, disorder, you're going to have triggers every now and then. And recently, I had a trigger to the point where I almost had a panic attack. So I just wanted to touch briefly on that because, like I mentioned earlier on my IG, when you are an introverted soul compounded with having social anxiety, it can be misconstrued for being what it's not. And people can judge you harshly. And so I felt compelled to talk about it because, like I said, for me, that is a personal topic. It is a personal subject. Upon meeting me or upon getting to know me, I will tell you offhand that I repeat, I do not like crowds. I don't like massive crowds. I don't like a large group of people. I am very much a homebody. I like to be by myself. I like my peace and quiet. I am by no means boring. If you know, you know. I am not a boring person. But I do like my solitude. I really do. So, let us first talk about what anxiety is. I didn't want to go off on my own ideas, so of course I googled it so that I can, word it properly. So let's get into it. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is an intense, excessive, and persistent worry and genuine fear about every possible situation. I will read that again. Anxiety is an intense, excessive, persistent worry and genuine fear about every situation. A person that has social anxiety has a fear of being humiliated. And for me, that is the number one thing. Of course, we all get anxious about like different stuff. We get anxious about bills, and we will be anxious about our kids and their safety. But social anxiety is a real and genuine fear of embarrassment or humiliation. And if you have never experienced it firsthand, it's hard for you to understand. And I have. I will not get into it, but I do remember having a panic attack before. It is not a very good feeling. I've never had a heart attack, but I can imagine the feeling of having a heart attack, because when I experienced my first ever panic attack, my pulse began to race, my heart rate sped up, my chest became tight, my breathing was restricted. And I had to breathe. I had to teach myself to breathe and to calm myself down. Otherwise I feel like I probably would have ended up in a hospital to get treated for it. And when I had the panic attack, it was at a social setting. And I felt like a fish out of water. I was super, super uncomfortable, and it was just not a good feeling. So until recently, I was reminded of it. Like I said, I really thought that I had gotten over it. Mind you, people that are still getting to know me, people that may have spent time with me would say, I never would have thought that you had social anxiety. I thrive in small settings. Give me a setting of 4, a setting of 5, maybe a setting of 6, and I'll be okay. I will genuinely be okay. And I will genuinely put in the effort of mingling and socializing. I'll be okay. But for someone with social anxiety to be placed in a setting where there is 10 or more complete strangers that they themselves do not know, have never seen, have never spoken to, it can and will become overwhelming. And if you are a person that are friends with a person that has social anxiety, you have to educate yourself on it. You have to educate yourself in a sense, whereas you have to be able to recognize the signs of a person that has social anxiety, especially if their behavior changes from what you have become accustomed to. You have to be able to recognize the signs, educate yourself on the behaviors of a person that has social anxiety. What is the number one sign of a person that has social anxiety. We isolate ourselves. The number one sign of a person that has social anxiety is that we isolate ourselves. We isolate ourselves from the crowd. And that can be misconstrued as being stuck up. That can be misconstrued as, oh, why you acting all bougie? It can be misconstrued as being mean. When really, in reality, that is a coping mechanism. In reality, that is our way of trying to gather ourselves and in trying to calm ourselves down to avoid having a panic attack at a social setting. So oftentimes when you see someone, and more likely it's always going to be a shy person, an introverted person. I feel like when you are an introverted soul, social anxiety is your close friend. When you are a shy person, you're bound to have social anxiety because you're so shy. You don't know how to approach people. You have a fear of approaching people because you don't want to be received in a negative light. You don't want to be perceived in a negative way. So that is going to compound your fears being in a extremely large group of people, strangers. It's going to overwhelm you. And when you get to the point of feeling overwhelmed, you're going to look for a hideaway. You're going to look for a quiet space, a quiet area where you can gather your thoughts and get yourself together. I know many of you would be like, well, I'm not going to go to a place where I don't know anybody. And if I do go to a place where I don't know anybody, after the first 5-10 minutes, I'm going to leave. That is an option. You can. No one is telling you that you cannot leave. But what if it's a situation where you can't leave? What do you do? If you have a friend, if you have a partner, a spouse that may be introverted, it is wrong to automatically judge them and assume that they are behaving in a manner in which they are not. If you have a friend, if your partner or your mate, your spouse, has social anxiety, then you need to be able to recognize the signs, and you need to be able to know how to handle it. Because it is extremely, extremely hurtful to have social anxiety and then to have your family members and friends, your partner, your mate, your spouse, to judge you. Because we are already judging ourselves. We are judging ourselves every day. I don't care who you are. We all go We all go into settings judging ourselves in some small way. It just so happens that for a person that has social anxiety, it is that much worse. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, I don't care what people say of me. I don't care what people think of me or whatever. Well, extroverts are like that. If you are an extroverted person, then hey, you know what? Right on. More power to you. Yes. Extroverts can walk into a building where they don't know a living soul, and within the first 5-10 minutes, everybody is their friend. But for an introvert, for a shy person, or an extremely shy person, that is not the case. We develop social anxiety. We become so nervous, we work ourselves into a frenzy in our heads. I remember seeing a post or a meme with this guy. I think he was drawing himself in a box. And the meme said, the hardest prison to escape is the prison of your mind. And for someone with social anxiety, that can be a task. Because in our minds, we have worked up so many scenarios of what could possibly go wrong, that we become so nervous that we have panic attacks. Our hearts start to race. We start to sweat. Our breathing becomes labored. We just simply want to hide away in our shell and just retreat into ourselves, away from everyone. So if you're involved with someone that has social anxiety, or you may not know that they have social anxiety. They may not want to tell you that they have social anxiety. But we need to educate ourselves on the signs and the symptoms. So when it starts to show itself, we can recognize it right away, rather than judging that person in such a cruel, hurtful manner. The number one sign is isolation. We hide away. We hide away from everything and everyone. If we are in a situation where we don't know anybody, then of course we're going to leave. After 5-10 minutes, we're like, you know what? I came, I show my face, and I'm going to go home. I'm going to lock myself in my house where I'm comfortable, away from everybody, and I don't have to deal with, socializing with anybody or mingling with anybody. But when you are in a situation where you're trying to show support for a friend, or it's a family setting where you can't leave, then what do you do? How do you help that person to cope? How do you help that person to relax so that they can have a good time and so that you can have a good time? How do we do it? We have to be able to be more understanding and more sincere towards another person's feelings without harshly judging them simply because they are not behaving in a manner in which you wanted them to. because they may be comfortable with you. They're comfortable with you. They know you. You have provided such an environment for them that they are comfortable to be themselves freely without fear of judgment from you. So just because they are comfortable with you doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be comfortable with your friends or the people that you are comfortable with. You have to remember that these people are strangers to them, to a person with social anxiety. To an introverted person that has social anxiety, they are not going to be comfortable with strangers. So you cannot expect, or you cannot force them to automatically fall in line and be comfortable with random strangers. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to build up to that comfort level. Like for me, I am a very sarcastic person. I'm very sarcastic. I speak fluent sarcasm. I respond to sarcasm. So for me, in order for me to mingle with people or to have conversations with people, you have to be so free and so open-minded and understand that, you know what, I tend to say some crazy, stupid things sometimes. It's nothing personal. You will then have to respond in an equally like manner. So for me, knowing that not too many people know how to handle sarcasm, anywhere that I go, if I'm meeting people for the very first time, I retreat into myself. I shy away and I assess the room and I watch people. Even in a small setting, I do that because I am watching to see how you react and respond to certain things that are being said or to things around you. You know, I'm watching your demeanor and I'm picking on the vibe and I'm picking up on the energy. I'm a person, I vibe with another person's energy. That's me. I vibe with another person's energy. So it's hard for me to meet someone the very first time and then for me to automatically, go into that state of being the state of comfortness for me to freely be myself. It's hard. And so I retreat and I isolate myself. So when it's like that, you being the person that invited this person to an event, you then have to become a lifeline, so to speak. You have to become their life support, because left to their own devices of their mind, they are going to drown. They're going to die. They're not going to make it out okay out of that situation. So you can't expect someone that is comfortable with you on a daily basis to automatically be comfortable with random people. And many of you may start to think like, well, I'm not going to babysit no grown ass person or whatever the case is. We came to a party, we're all adults here, everybody is whatever, blah blah blah, this is yada yada yada. That may be the case, that may be how you see it, but remember, you know the people around you. The people around you are your friends. They are your circle. For the person that you are bringing in, they are total and complete strangers. So you can very well expect the person that you are bringing in to react or to behave with strangers the way that they react and behave with you. So you then, if you have a mate, a friend, a spouse that is an introvert, that at times displays having social anxiety, you have to know how to handle them. How do you handle them? How do you handle a person with social anxiety that has been placed in an environment where they cannot leave? When they cannot leave, and when I say cannot leave, I mean in a sense as, you were their ride and, they have to wait until you're ready to leave before they can leave. Or in a situation where their presence is required there, so they're not, so they have to put on a good show for a little while before they can be allowed to leave, in that sense. So if it's a situation like that, and you are the only one person in a group of 30, 40, 50, 100, thousands that they know, you have to become their life support. How do you do that? How do you handle that situation? How do you become a life support to that system? Well, I'm going to tell you a few ways that you can do that for someone that you care about, that you know has social anxiety for sure, or that displays having social anxiety. What you can do, number one, what you can do is acknowledge their feelings. Acknowledge it. Don't be, it's okay. Don't be silly or whatever. Don't judge them. Simply acknowledge their feelings. Because if we're already judging ourselves, we're not looking for you to judge us. A person with social anxiety is already in their mind. You have to try and take them out of it. How do you do that? Acknowledge their feelings. Do not judge them. Because if you are my friend, if you are my mate, if you are my husband, if you are my wife, my spouse, or whatever, if you're judging me, I know for sure the people in the room are judging me also. And it's only going to multiply my fears. So acknowledge their feelings and don't judge. Don't belittle them. It will only make it worse. Don't judge and don't belittle. I can't say it enough. Don't judge and don't belittle another person's feeling of anxiousness for being placed in an environment where they are super uncomfortable because they don't know anybody. A next way to do is that you can focus on their feelings. Focus on their feelings. Allow them the freedom to feel what they're feeling. Give them that room to feel it. If the need arises where they're so nervous, because there are extreme cases of social anxiety. You have minor cases and then you have extreme cases. There are levels to this. If it's an extreme case of social anxiety and the need arises where this person wants to cry, let them cry. Let them get it out. Focus on that, or focus on the feeling. Allow them that room to feel what they're feeling, to own it. What you can do in return, whilst focusing on their feeling of nervousness, you can give them a reassuring hug. A reassuring, calming hug to ease the tension, to ease the pressure, to make them feel less nervous. You can suggest, if you haven't already entered the premises, you can suggest we can sit outside. We can sit outside for 5 minutes. And when you're ready to go in, we can go in together. You can, whilst going into the building or entering the building, you can hold their hand and give them a reassuring squeeze that let them know that, hey, we're in this together. These are my people. These are my friends. You don't know anybody. We're in this together. I'm going to be right here with you through it all. And just reassure them that it's going to be okay. If it's a situation where you guys are already inside the building and you notice that they're starting to feel a little agitated or a little, less relaxed than they previously were, take them outside. If you notice that they have retreated to a little corner and they are now hugging the wall and they have now become less social, you can lend your support. Check up on them. Hey, you okay? You sure? I'm going to be right here with you. Or you can take them outside and for a walk or whatever. Because it is at that moment, at that instant, they need to regroup. They need to gather themselves. They need to recharge so that they can go back in and, mingle some more. There's levels to this. If you guys have now entered the party or the event where they don't know anyone, rather than, leaving them to their own devices, and whilst you go ahead and mingle with your friends and have fun or whatever the case is, and the only thing that you're doing is periodically checking up on them. Hey, you okay? You all right? What do you think the answer is going to be? They are dying inside. They are uncomfortable. But because they're your friend, that's your mate, that's your spouse, you are just periodically checking up on them. Hey, you okay? Or whatever the case is. Of course they're going to tell you yes. They are not okay, but they're going to tell you they are okay. Before you can leave a person with social anxiety to their own devices to mingle, and I say mingle in parentheses, by themselves, you you have to create that momentum for them. You have to set it up in a way where they are comfortable, and whereas you will be comfortable enough to to have a good time, because they're having a good time, but you have to set it up. How do you set it up? By being You have to be a good host. You guys can sit in the corner until a person with social anxiety, you sit in the corner with them and entertain them. And how do you entertain them? You distract them. You have to find ways to distract them from thinking about what's going on around them. You have to become the sole distraction. And guess what? While you are so busy distracting them, and they're now having fun, and they have gotten to the point where they're having so much fun that they have forgotten that they are in a social setting. So now the other people around you that is witnessing what is going on, they're gonna be like, hey, what's going on over there? They are going to approach you guys. So now, rather than the both of you laughing, it becomes 3. 3 becomes 4. 4 becomes 5. And for each additional person that either came over to your corner voluntarily, or whether you are the one that motioned them to join the conversation with you and your social anxiety friend, you are building the momentum, because now introductions are made. Rather than knowing you, now they know 2 people, or they know 3 persons at that gathering. And so now they are feeling a little bit more relaxed. They are feeling a little bit more relaxed now, because now they have another person aside from you to talk to. And so now, when you have made your introductions and you have made sure that they are comfortable and they are relaxed, they are out of their heads now, then you can be free to mingle, because you know what they're going to be doing? They're going to be mingling too. So now everybody's mingling and everybody's having fun, because you built that momentum for them. You became that lifesaver, that life support. You broke the ice for them. You made them relax. You had distracted them so much that whilst you were introducing other people to them, they didn't even realize what you were doing until it was too late. Yeah, it works. A person with social anxiety, when they are distracted from their inner turmoil, and they start to have fun, they're not like, we don't even realize that we're having fun until it's too late. We're already relaxed. We're already calm. We're already vibing with these people. When I initially came in, they were strangers, but because you build the momentum, introductions were made, conversations were started within my little corner. They came to me. Introductions were made. 2 became 3. 3 became 4. 4 became 5. So now I'm vibing and I'm having fun. Yay. I'm distracted. I didn't even know that you set me up so good to have fun that I didn't even realize that I was having fun until it was too late. Because the distraction that you provided didn't allow me the time to think about the people that I didn't know. They didn't allow me the time to think about my environment and how uncomfortable I was before. And the last thing, which is probably the most important thing in handling a person with social anxiety, is you have to be patient. You have to be patient. Because it's not easy. Have any of you ever been the new kid in school? Have you? Or the new kid in the neighborhood? Do you remember that feeling of walking into the classroom and not knowing anybody, or walking into the cafeteria for lunch and not having anywhere to sit because you're the new kid? You don't know anybody. You don't know which table to sit at. You're not sure. You're unsure of yourself. That is that feeling when you are invited into a social gathering, into a social setting where you don't know anybody. You are now the new person. You are now the outsider. And so your nerves is going to work on it. It's going to work on itself. You are going to be trapped in your mind. Especially, let's say that you have been dating this person for 6 months, a year, 2 years. Hey, it happens. And within the 6 months, or within the year and a half or 2 years that you have been involved or dating this person has never met your friends. They have never met your family. So now it is a setting where you are now introducing your boyfriend or your girlfriend to your friends or to your family. Can you imagine, for someone with social anxiety, how nerve-wracking that can be? Can you imagine the feeling? Can you imagine how overwhelming that can be? Because now you have a fear, like, I want her friends to like me. I want her parents to like me. I want his friends to like me. I want his parents to like me. So now you're an introvert. You have social anxiety. And you are meeting these people that are closest to your mate for the very first time. What do you think is going to happen if your boyfriend or your girlfriend doesn't take it upon themselves to be your saving grace, and they walk you into their family home, and the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, like everybody, that the whole family is there, and he just walks in and say, hey, this is, or he probably doesn't even introduce you. It happens, okay? It happens. But your mate, your girlfriend or your boyfriend just walks into the family house and says, hey, this is Tisha, or this is Tamika. But so he went to mingle with his whole family members, but she is not, they're not there to guide you or to guide your hand and to, maneuver you through the setting, through the crowd, and make formal introductions or whatever. So having social anxiety and meeting the friends of your mate for the very first time, or meeting the family members of your mate for the very first time, can be an overwhelmingly situation where you feel like you're going to drown almost. So in any event, the person that invited you to any setting, if you are the person that has invited someone with social anxiety to any form of function, be it a big one or a small one, it is your responsibility to build that momentum. It is your responsibility to make sure that that person is comfortable. It is your responsibility to make sure that that person doesn't retreat into themselves, into their own mind, by forming or becoming a distraction for them so that they can relax. And dealing with social anxiety is extremely daunting, is extremely draining, it's very exhausting. It is. And it is something that you try to live through every single day. You try to control it every single day. Some people are better at it than others. Some people have to seek medical treatment for the extreme cases of having to deal with social anxiety. But if you are close to someone that has social anxiety, you have to be able to recognize the signs, and you have to be able to know how to handle them with care. And again, many of you are probably thinking, I'm not going to babysit anybody, they are not children or whatever. But can you walk a mile in their shoes? Can you attempt to put yourself in their shoes, in their situation? Imagine how you would have felt. And I feel like if people of today would simply do that one little task before you bully someone, before you judge someone, before you say something mean and cruel and hurtful to someone, just try to put yourself in their shoes. If only for a moment. If only for a moment, just put yourself in their shoes and imagine you feeling what they are feeling and experiencing what they are experiencing in that moment. Only then can we fully understand the need to be more understanding and more sincere and compassionate towards another person. Because you never know what a person is experiencing or what another person is going through. So I just wanted to touch that very briefly, because the topic of anxiety is very deep and it's very complex, and it's going to take more than one segment and of course more than one conversation, because there's different levels and different types of anxiety. But I just wanted to touch very briefly on social anxiety because for me it's personal, and I know what it's like to be judged harshly. I know what it feels like to be judged unfairly simply because people run with their own ideology without knowing the full story or without even trying to understand. So thank you guys for listening so much.